North York's Community Council to order. Are we on? And I'm Laura Kaplan, the chair. I'm going to ask for a roll call with members speaking their name, starting with
Manuel Ramirez.
Beatriz Cerrillo. Linda Lopez.
Dale Miller.
Rafael Avendaño.
Jenny Corral.
John Schott.
Thank you. I think we are missing Esty tonight. Esperanza. Has anyone heard from Esperanza? She may show up. And
Nidhi.
oh, do we have someone who is willing to take minutes? Oh, that's So we have an agenda tonight, and anyone who doesn't have one, I believe they are at the back. If there is anyone here from the public who wishes to speak on an item not on the agenda, you can let us know and have up to 2 minutes to speak. I believe we need to get a speaker slip filled out if that's the case, which those are also at the back table. And the council need not take action on any item not on the agenda. Do we have anyone from the public? Okay, nobody wanting to speak tonight. So we will move to the approval of minutes for the council meeting that took place November 21st, 2013. Have all the council members had an opportunity to review those minutes? Are there any corrections or comments? I have a couple. There was, at one point, it said that Beatriz closed down the restaurant, and I think that it was not quite accurate. I believe it needs to state that perhaps Beatriz initiated an action that closed. I'm not sure how that was going to be. Clarify that and make a correction in the minutes. That was in the code enforcement report of the restaurant. It was It says that Councilmember Beatriz Cerrillo closed down an auto body business.
Oh, yes, I'm working on that, that's on Second Avenue.
Right, she didn't close it down, so I think we just need to have the minutes reflect accurately what the status
It's
is.
not closed.
So Beatriz asked about the status of, perhaps?
And I've opened the case and it's still working.
Okay, so that's a
Oh,
case that's
okay.
in
So that's a correction.
progress and it was being worked on. There was another item where we talked about Melissa, the
Melissa
mental
Platt?
health. This was on the mental health.
Melissa Platt.
Yes, Melissa Platt of the Mental Health Association of San Mateo County. It states here that they will be opening this building, when in fact she made clear that they came in to present on this topic because it was in the early stages of planning, and this is not a done deal, so I wanted the minutes to accurately reflect that. They have purchased a property, and instead of saying the building will provide housing, the intention is for the building to provide housing, I believe is what we need to say in minutes. Any other comments?
The proposed building.
The proposed building is to provide, or it's proposed that the building will provide, rather than to say that the building will provide, because we don't know it.
Station microphone on the very top.
Yeah, I'm wondering that. Is my microphone on? Does it sound, doesn't sound.
Hello.
Are we on now? Is this, no.
have sound?
I don't know that we have sound. Okay.
Okay.
I
So
would
we-
be talking a lot louder if I had known.
Yeah.
So anyway, we have a couple of corrections I suggested to the minutes. I'll go ahead and ask if anyone wants to make a motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
I'll motion to approve the minutes of November 21st with the 2 corrections.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so we've approved the minutes, and the next item on our agenda is the supervisor's report, but I think we want to be sure we have sound, right? We like sound when we hear you talk. So we'll hold off for a couple of minutes and see if we can get that.
Okay.
Off the record.
Off the record.
No, I think
The whole thing's down?
Well, for the people who are here, I believe we could go ahead with the council members' reports. So are there any members of the council who have anything to report tonight that is not on the agenda? And you'll speak up.
Okay, I think, yeah, I
Hey,
have
it sounds
something.
like yours is on.
No, oh, wait a minute. Oh, yes. Oh, maybe they fixed it because I checked it a little while ago. Okay. Well, good. So I do have a little bit of, I guess, news to inform. So just want to let everybody know that this will be my last session here with the council. Supervisor Slocum has asked me to serve as the new District 4 Commissioner for San Mateo County. I have accepted the invitation and I have been confirmed. So I had my first meeting yesterday. Planning Commission, yes. So because of the time required to serve on that commission, I'm not going to be able to continue on this council because I don't think that I would be, of value if I try to do both. So I want to concentrate on one thing and try to do one thing correct. But at the same time, I feel that, this has been a great learning experience, and I want to thank all the members of the council for, helping me on to grow and learn about, being engaged in public, been engaged on helping North Fair Oaks, and I think you guys have, helped me a lot to learn, and so. I just want to say, that I want to thank everyone here for all the help that I received while I was here. And so I see, myself with the new position as an extension of this council. And, I'm sure that the stuff that you guys will be looking at here, I will be over there waiting to, to look at those plans, projects, and try to move some things along that will benefit North Fair Oaks. So with that, I just want to say, thank you to everyone and to the public for, having been here to the meetings and, taught us a lot. So thank you very much. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, congratulations to We'll miss you. We'll be in touch.
Can we
Thanks.
keep your cell phone?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we
Yeah.
want to direct.
Yeah. Yes.
Manuel has been a chair of the council and has been a very active member of the council, very involved with the community, probably the most active member of the council we've had in years, and a real asset to this body. We will really miss you.
Thank you.
I just want to report, I don't think my mic's working, but I have a natural mic, that we're having our third semi-annual Fine Arts and Film Festival at Siena Youth Center. It's ran by New Voices for Youth, that's the League of Women Voters. We're going to be showing films about health disparities within our community, so you all are welcome to come. It's next Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. We're promoting everybody to walk or bike to the center, as it's going to be a really cool event. And we're also always promoting our Friday cleanup event that happens at 3:30 every Friday at Siena Youth Center. So I'm just going to keep broadcasting that. You're welcome.
Are we okay with sound?
Well, test.
Yeah.
You may want to test on. Yeah, this one is working.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Just speak loudly, everyone. John, did you have a?
Well, I did have a comment. It certainly isn't an official report, but echoing your comments, I'm confident that everyone on the council and everybody in the community appreciates Manuel's contributions. He came into the council when we were a much leaner organization, literally hanging on by a thread, and just looking at the robust and excellent new members that we have here, I think is a testament to the vigor that you added to our group. So we wish you the best on the Planning Commission. I think that's an important position, but we also thank you for your contributions to our organization and to the North Briar Oaks community in general. Thanks, Manuel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other reports from council members?
I do.
Yes.
Are we good? Okay. I attended the planning for the playground build for Friendship Park last week. The weekly meetings have begun. It is on, they're being held at the sheriff's office on Edison. There were parents, community people. We stayed there for a good chunk of time looking at the overall plan for Friendship Park. And the company Kaboom is the one that will be organizing the playground build at Friendship Park. And the weekly meetings have begun. And the build is expected to be on March 21st? March 21st, yes. So if you would like to participate, it was going to be held all day on a Friday, because that is what was decided by the group.
Anyone else?
Question, is every Friday? The
No.
weekly meetings are every Friday?
The weekly meetings are Wednesday from 5 to 6 at the sheriff's office.
Oh.
Oh, 6 to 7? There was one yesterday, and I wasn't sure what time it was going to be. Was it 6 to 7? Oh, 6 to 7, okay.
At the substation?
3151 Edison.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
right, at the substation.
All right, thank you. So we will now proceed with the supervisor's report, and we have the supervisor here this evening. Warren Stoker.
So I guess the microphone's on?
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So we didn't have a meeting in December. So first thing, Happy New Year, even though it's January 23rd or thereabouts. I should tell you that Manuel Ramirez's first Planning Commission meeting was earlier this week, and he had one of the most complex cases that you could imagine come before the Planning Commission. It's for a proposed alcohol and drug treatment facility up on Skyline Road. And some of the neighbors are opposed to it, of course. And there was a lot of testimony, a lot of lawyer talk, and it was a very, I think, difficult hearing that went from 9 maybe till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and that was his first introduction. So it was sort of like trial by fire. Just by way of information, the night before, he received in the email a 567-page document from, I'm not sure if it was the proponents or the opponents, but at the same time he was trying to do homework with the kids, read the document, and get ready for his first planning meeting. So, Manuel, congratulations. It was trial by fire, and not all the cases are like that case, trust me.
You promise? You
I promise.
right?
Okay. But thank you so much. Irving Torres and I were at a meeting in East Palo Alto the other day, and he turned to me and he said, "I'm not feeling very well." And he just immediately got the flu, and I took him home, and so he's not able to be here. He's been out for a couple days now, so hope Irving feels better. And thanks again to Mr. Ramirez, who stopped by office hours last night, picked up all these name tags and the covers, and came here early and got the chairs and table and everything organized. So thank you for filling in that regard.
You're welcome.
Let's see. We had a community potluck at in mid-December, I think. There were some 200 people here in this room, and it was to honor citizens from 3 organizations. And I think nobody expected 200 people, thanks to the CARON and other organizations who got the parents here and the kids here. And it was really an awesome event. There was lots of good food, and we're going to do it again next year. As was mentioned, Friendship Park is coming back online March 21st is the build date. They need 200 volunteers. So let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll count you in, Manny, on that day.
I have a meeting that day.
Yeah, I know. At the design day that Beatrice was talking about, it was really cool because there were a lot of little kids there from the neighborhood, and they were sitting around these tables, and they had crayons and sheets of paper, and they were asked to draw, what does your ideal playground look like? Like, what would you like to see? And they drew these pictures of like a merry-go-round, and then they stood up in front of the group and held up their picture and explained, what they wanted to see at Friendship Park. So it was really community involvement, and these kids obviously were pretty small, so it was I really enjoyed it. We also had a community-based organization breakfast a couple Fridays ago now. That was Pat Brown and Lilia Ledesma, and was attended by about 40 organizational leaders from North Fair Oaks. And the purpose of that breakfast, it was at the new clinic, by the way, purpose of that breakfast was to make a plea to these leaders of the organizations to get involved in the community plan and spread the word through their networks. And hopefully the end result of all that will be increased participation, more voices in the process as we move the community plan forward. Manny talked about his appointment to the Planning Commission, also appointed a fellow named Maida Okello from East Palo Alto to the Parks Commission. He previously worked in East Palo Alto city government. He'll be a welcome addition to the Parks Commission. The Fair Oaks Health Center opened, I think it was December 16th, and it's actually seeing patients now. And there will be a grand official opening sometime in the near future, and watch your email boxes for an invitation to the grand opening. It's really quite a facility, and I would encourage you, if you have a spot on your calendar, to make it to that event. There's a new website coming online at the end of the month. Thank you for those of you that have gone to the training. It's called North Fair Oaks, or it's nfoforward.org. We're really proud of it, but the secret to its success will be content. Content is king. So each of you is invited. I think we're having another training session. If you haven't gone, Jenny, did you go? I can't remember. She's going to the next one. So it's basically a simple training on how you could add content to that website. So it's not all relying on District 4 staff. Actually, the community will be able to add content. Some of you may remember the County Board of Supervisors approved a Poet Laureate program for San Mateo County, and we did select a Poet Laureate. Her name is Carolyn Goodwin. She lives over in the coast. And there's a reception for her on February 4th from 5:30 to 7:30, and it'll be at the San Mateo City Library, kind of downtown. There'll be a jazz group, and Carolyn will read some of her poetry, and there'll be some young people there who are also going to share their poetry. There'll be food and refreshments. So mark your calendar for February 4th if you're interested in poetry. And finally, there are two new ordinances, not new, well, one new and one amended ordinance that are sort of in the hopper. You'll hear about one later tonight, which is the proposed smoking ban. But the other is an amended massage parlor ordinance that will obviously affect North Fair Oaks and unincorporated areas. It's not a new ordinance, but it took the old ordinance, and the sheriff's office and the county council and others have gone through the old ordinance, strengthened it, and I think it will achieve some of the things that we have talked about at office hours and that you've been concerned about as a council. But as I said, it's a strengthened version of the old ordinance. So that's going to the board on February 11th, I believe. And I would be more than happy to answer any of your questions, Raphael. No questions? Yeah, John.
Yes, Supervisor Slocum, does the new massage parlor ordinance come closer to matching those surrounding incorporated communities?
You know, I'm not familiar with surrounding communities' massage parlor ordinances, but I know that some of the things that we have talked about, for instance, shutting a massage parlor down and then change of ownership and popping back up in the location, that whole process has been strengthened and sort of given some teeth. So it's not a complete rewrite, but it does accomplish a few of the things that we all have talked about. But I can't answer that question.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I think that's an excellent move.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. There being no more questions, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Supervisor Slocum. I'd like to invite the people at the back to come in and find a seat or pull up a chair if you don't see one already on the floor to your liking. And next, we will go to the report on the proposed ordinance to regulate smoking in multi-unit residences, as Supervisor Slocum was just discussing, mentioning, talking about. And to talk about that and share with us, we have Shonda Scruggs from the
Health Department.
Health Department.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I've prepared a statement so that I make sure I cover everything. As your councilwoman indicated, my name is Shonda Scruggs. I'm the director of the Tobacco Prevention Program at San Mateo County Health System. In 2007, the city of Belmont adopted a ban on smoking in multi-unit housing as part of its comprehensive smoking ban. The ordinance originated after citizens at a retirement home complained of health problems resulting from secondhand smoke exposure from their neighboring residents. This law was the first in the nation and garnered international press coverage. As such, the ordinance has served as a tipping point for municipalities to create methods to systematically reduce their residents' exposure to secondhand smoke. Just yesterday, the City of Daly City's multi-unit housing ordinance became effective. This is the first, not the last. There are many that happen in the state. According to the CDC, most exposure to secondhand smoke occurs in homes and workplaces. Eliminating smoking in indoor spaces is the only way to fully protect non-smokers from exposure to secondhand smoke. Separating smokers from non-smokers, cleaning the air, opening windows, and ventilating buildings does not eliminate secondhand smoke exposure. Our San Mateo County Tobacco Education Coalition and equivalent groups across the state have worked with jurisdictions to advance policies and ordinances to protect the health of its most vulnerable residents. Recently, the American Cancer Society's Cancer Action Network indicated that it will be backing the pursuit to ban smoking in multi-unit housing. As indicated in the memo addressed to the council, the Tobacco Prevention Program and the Tobacco Education Coalition has recommended that the county consider an ordinance will prohibit smoking in multi-unit residents, those with 2 or more units, in the unincorporated areas of the county. This ordinance is modeled after one in Santa Clara County and will be inclusive of all tobacco products, including electronic nicotine delivery devices. The ordinance will provide a 14-month phase-in period with support for landlords, owners, and residents provided by my program, the Tobacco Prevention Program, and enforcement activities will be delegated to our Environmental Health Department. Also today, I have Kim Marlowe for County Council, and she and I both can answer any questions that you may have.
So, does anyone have questions for Shonda? I have one question. I'm curious because I'm not familiar with the electronic devices.
Yes.
And do they also have a problem with secondhand smoke?
The research on that is inconclusive. Because these are letting off vapors as opposed to traditional smoke, they don't have a lot of the carcinogens that exist in traditional cigarette secondhand smoke in general. But the person who is using the device is still ingesting chemicals that the FDA, USDA, CDC believe are hazardous to their health. So this is a method to reduce the renormalization of smoking habits that folks across the state have spent the past 20 years to denormalize, but also from an enforcement standpoint, an officer going into an area that does not allow smoking, seeing a person smoking a device that looks very similar to a cigarette and lets off a gas that looks very similar to smoke would be confused about enforcement, as would children in modeling that behavior.
And I see that there is provided for it. So is part of this that each property owner would need to provide for a smoking area, or could they assume that they're just state that it's not allowed at all on their property? Or?
That is allowed. The property owner is allowed to designate a smoking area, but they are not required.
Not required. So this goes into the home where only for people who are renters, essentially.
Correct. Individual units that share a wall, 2 or more units, floor to ceiling, left to right, but this would also include townhomes and condos, because these facilities also share ventilation.
I think that as a council, I know one of the things that came up was that 180 Buckingham was that the smoke was getting through the walls of some of the people that live there. So we definitely have to consider this ordinance because a lot of young children are getting exposed to secondhand smoke. So we really got to think about this one as a team.
Yes, so if I hear no other questions at the moment, okay.
Can you go through what's the proposal is at the county? What's the process right now?
Well, the
What's
process
the
now-
timeline, the process?
This is something that we have recommended.
Oh, okay.
We have recommended to the board of supervisors. So there is no strict timeline for this right now, but this is a recommendation we have made.
And then my other question is, how is that going to work with existing apartment buildings where you have smokers? You can't move those people out. How exactly, just give me kind of a scenario. Take an apartment building, I don't know, 30 unit, 30, 40 unit. I know, but I want to hear. So everybody, because not everybody has the, I know you have some information here, but I want everybody to
There
hear
is
kind of
a-
how it would work.
There is a 14-month phase-in period, which means that gives the landlord sufficient time to provide notification to the tenants. The tenants aren't required to move out. The landlords aren't encouraged to evict these people during this 14-month period. It is an education period. During this time, in other communities, we have offered cessation devices and cessation classes if people choose to quit, because this is not an ordinance that says you have to quit smoking. This says you cannot smoke in this facility. That's all that it's saying. So we found in other communities with proper notification that the tenants generally self-police and follow the rules.
I have a question.
And may I ask about enforcement? I understand that what you're saying is that it becomes effective upon renewal of a lease.
Yes.
Or upon a new lease. So if someone is on a year lease, they could theoretically continue to smoke in their apartment till the end of that lease. Or if they're on a month-to-month, of course, that's renewed every month. Is that correct?
So the 14-month phase-in period kind of takes care of some of those things that happen during that period of time, whether a person's a 1 year or a month-to-month. So if this policy is adopted, it goes into effect 30 days after adoption, but the impact to multi-unit housing doesn't happen for another 14 months.
Okay, that helps. And just about enforcement, what are the
Yes.
plans?
So to give you an example, in the city of Belmont, the enforcement of that is always complaint-driven. So someone falls, and actually my office receives some of these calls that we may then direct to the different cities. But a person can call and say, my neighbor is smoking, and I know we have this ordinance that says you can't smoke. So generally, there is some form of letter notification that goes, and very rarely do police officers have to go out and do that. Our environmental health inspectors are they do inspection for restaurants, laundromats, they do them for supermarkets, so they then would be part of this enforcement policy. From our experience, there has been very little need for this level of enforcement, because with proper notification and sufficient time, it ends up not being a problem. But if this does happen, it is complaint-driven. So the police and the environmental and health officers will not be driving around looking for this. This will be only complaint-driven.
Does the prevention program offer education for the rights of the ordinance for the people when they move in?
Yes, yes.
What type of, are they
So
bilingual?
What do they call this? The lease agreements. The lease agreements would have to disclose this information. They do come in multiple languages. We do have examples that we can provide to owners or property managers that they could use, and any education, whether it be the risk of cancer as it relates to smoking or the health hazards associated with secondhand smoke, we do provide education on that for the landlords, the tenants, and any other person who may be interested in those things.
How's that generally been ran before? Some
It-
examples that you guys have used?
In other cities or just in general?
Just in general.
Well, just in general, in my.
Unincorporated area.
Okay, so this will be the first effort in the unincorporated area of San Mateo County. In other areas, it's always that someone prompts, there's a phone call, a complaint, or something like that, that would prompt us to provide education. Oftentimes, we receive calls for technical assistance, whether that be from landlords or property owners, to ask how to voluntarily transition their policies. And it's the same approach that we have recommended to the Board of Supervisors, will be recommending to the Board of Supervisors, is providing sufficient notice, sufficient period of time, education, and support materials for all parties involved.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
All right.
One of the points says that it doesn't apply to residential care and assisted living facilities.
Yes.
Are you, these were with the elderly or senior or house, or?
So residential treatment facilities like nursing homes and assisted living, this policy does not address those facilities. There are state-level policies that kind of preempt these things.
All right, I'd like to, I got some requests to speak from 4 people. I believe they are all on this topic, although only one says it. So I'd like to call on those people at this time, and you would have 2 minutes to speak, ask questions, whatever it is you wish to do. Maria Saron.
Well, I everybody.
Hi. She needs to get closer.
My name is Maria Serrano.
Could you
and I-
speak into the microphone,
Yeah.
please? Sorry if it's a little high for you. Go ahead, move. Thank you.
My name is Maria Serrano, and I am a member of Joe Mario. I am here today to speak about Project CASA. This is an organization about creating access through smoke-free apartments and North Fair Oaks. To bring the smoking-free housing law to Redwood City and North Fair Oaks. It is important for us to understand the effects of secondhand smoke. I have witnessed many family members and friends being affected from secondhand smoke. As a member of the community, I would like to create a healthier living style to the youth who live in apartments. I would like you to consider making the smoking-free housing law in Redwood City and North Fair Oaks so children can live in a smoke-free environment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. And next up, Anthony, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, then your name is?
Francisco.
Hi, Francisco.
Francisco.
Yeah. Hi, my
Sorry,
name is
could you say your last name?
San Juan.
San Juan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My name is Francisco San Juan. I am a member of Yo Mario and a health advocate as well. This past summer, I have renovated several corner stores in North Fair Oaks and led a community forum addressing a proposed sugar-sweet beverage tax. Currently, I'm a student at Kenyatta College, where we benefit from a smoke-free campus. The importance of smoke-free areas allows students to be in a healthy environment to study and learn productively. Sorry. Yeah, living in an apartment that currently does not have a smoke-free policy, I am concerned about my fellow tenants and family members, as smoking is a common social norm that has negative impacts. However, the work we are doing by changing the environment we live in through policy, education, and implementation can create a positive change. We need the state law to happen at local level. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next I have, I'm sorry, what, you want to tell me your name?
Hi, Javier.
Javier Galanovsky, thank you.
Hi, my name is Javier, and I'm representing Yo Mario. And I would like to express my concern on smoke-free housing. I know there's been a couple of fires in Redwood City in the past 6 months, and that's also due to hazards like smoking. It could cause fires. It's not just a health concern. And my mother is an apartment building manager, and over the years I've learned that there's been complaints and she's been concerned, and this smoke-free housing policy is really important for her. So I think there hasn't been a solution for her. Since I was 10, she's been an apartment building manager. Now I'm about to be 20, and I think this is really great. And this policy, I think, has been implemented in Daly City and Belmont, and we want to look at those cities as models and examples. And we hope to establish this in Redwood City. And we, Yo Mario, have been working to implement this policy at the apartments I live in. So I thank you guys for your time, and yeah.
Thank you.
So Javier, I have a question. You said your mother is an apartment manager and has received complaints. Do you have any idea can you characterize any of those complaints?
The complaints are that people do smoke in their house, and people have families, they have kids, they're newborns. It affects them. Bronchitis, there's always asthma-related problems. And having asthma-related problems growing up can be hard because when you're in school, you're always physically moving, and it's going to get hot and you're going to run around. You have PE. I'm a PE coach. I have kids that run around. You run around and they're like, I have asthma, And families are affected, and also it can be a fire hazard.
So are you saying they come and complain about their neighbors?
About their neighbors, and they don't know how else to do it. They can't call the cops because it's, they don't know how it's going to work, Maybe the neighbors will get mad and get back at them. They have that sort of thing, And there's been a lot of complaints, and I feel like this policy will just kind of level things. It's a solution, and it's the only way.
I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. You as a young person advocating for change, for having a smoke-free environment, Is that what you see more of a trend now as a young person?
Yeah, it's starting to be more of a trend because as times change, tobacco becomes more and more elaborate on, advertising, and kids start to sink more and more into that. And I just feel like there needs to be youth that needs to represent everyone, because there's people that smoke out there, and I feel like as a youth, I need to represent something positive. So I need to start a chain of other representatives so that this generation before me can do something good with this policy.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next, Anthony, sorry, I can't quite read your.
Yeah, it's Anthony Devita Caligari Hemuli. And I have been working with these young people for the past year or so on this campaign. And we work at the Youth Leadership Institute, which is located in San Mateo. The project that they're part of is Project CASA. And they've been really championing this issue on smoke-free housing. A lot of youth have called called property managers. A lot of youth are from North Fair Oaks area and Redwood City. And a lot of the complaints is that the property managers don't support the work. They think that it's great, but they don't know how to implement it because there's no support on a city level or on a county level. And as Javier mentioned, it's a growing concern. So our ask today is that you do support us in this and in the smoke-free ordinance for the county, and that we also want to work together to give you more information. If you want us to do more things for you and get more information, we want to be the representatives for you. So thank you for your time. And let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. So this, I understand this then has been presented already to the Board of Supervisors, or will be presented to the Board of Supervisors, is that correct?
It's still in the works.
It's in the
Kim
works.
Marlowe from County Council and I've been working on drafting this
So
ordinance.
Kim, if you have something to say, could you use this? I'd love to hear your answers on them.
So there's no proposed date yet for Board of Supervisors consideration. It's still in draft form being worked on. So, but I would anticipate probably sometime in the spring. Supervisor Carol Groom has been working with us and the Tobacco Prevention Coalition to try to get something before the Board of Supervisors, but there hasn't been a date selected yet.
And are you asking anything of the council on this, or just informing us?
No, this is just a report to let everyone know that it's in the works, and we'll be coming to the board at some point, probably within the next couple months.
Within the next couple of months?
I would think
All right.
so.
Thank you very much.
I think just for Linda and us, if you could just help us out with a timeline when this will happen, just to keep us informed, because this is something that we would like to consider.
Yes, certainly, and I'm available for any questions if anyone wants to call me. I believe my telephone number is on the memo, so if any questions come up, or if you have any thoughts about it, I'm more than happy to
Thank you.
available.
All right. Thank you very much.
So I have a question.
Go ahead.
Or maybe a few. Let me see. So you're still working on the language. Seems like to create the ordinance, right? So it's mainly going to be complaint driven, and I guess it's up to the discretion of the managers and the building owners to enforce it. Because I think that the problem for me is that, if you create an ordinance, you got to have a way of actually enforcing it. Otherwise, what's the point of having it?
The ordinance does also include some lease provisions, so requirements for lease provisions to enable, so the apartment managers don't have to necessarily enforce it, but it also gives tenants the right to enforce the provisions. So it's just something that can be used by the building managers or tenants to help enforce the ordinance. I think, as Shonda mentioned, it's going to be complaint driven, so it'll just be if someone's being, bothered by secondhand smoke, they'll have something there to support.
Yeah. So the penalties will be that they lose their rental agreement, or they'll be evicted, or I'm trying to understand, or maybe you
Well,
just don't
Yeah, I
have that
don't have
either,
that at
you
this
know?
point. I mean, but it
Yeah.
would be a violation of the lease agreement.
Right.
And also, the health department would enforce it on a complaint-driven basis. It would be an infraction.
Yeah, so penalties, we don't.
citation
Yeah,
issue.
citation, so we don't know about penalties or anything like that. That's still to be worked out, or?
Well, an infraction has
Uh,
certain penalties, statutory penalties.
Okay.
I believe it's $100 ticket.
All right, well, I'll be looking forward to see what becomes of that, and, yeah, thanks.
Kim, so it sounds like a lot of the onus is going to be on the landlord to make sure that the tenants are, not violating the lease, right? If someone's caught smoking, so I could see a tenant complaining to a landlord that so-and-so in apartment 25 is smoking, this is this is a violation. So it seems like a lot of that onus is going to be on the landlord.
Well, it could be if
Yeah.
the tenant's complaining to the landlord
Right.
about someone else. I don't know if, Shonda, if you've had any
It's interesting, though, to
experience
see, to work that, make sure that language is really
Yeah, I mean,
super clear.
I haven't had that experience with the enforcement, so
Mhm.
I don't know if Shonda.
So in the city of Belmont, it is complaint driven, so a person can go to their landlord or manager, or they can call the city code enforcement office. Same in Daly City, they can tell their landlord, they can call the city code enforcement, or they can call the police department. In the way that we anticipate this happening, it would be a similar process, that people have multiple avenues to address this issue. We currently receive calls in my office for people complaining about secondhand smoke in a building throughout the county. We get them from every city throughout the county. And the approach that we take is to notify the landlord that we've received the complaint without identifying the tenant. We send a letter to the perceived offending tenant, and we explain to them health information and ask them to respect the non-smokers who live around them by taking their smoking outside. Again, this isn't you have to stop smoking. That is not what this is. This is simply, we are being respectful to the tenants who don't smoke and protecting their health, because you can't, cordon off the air around you. So a person could have the option to notify their landlord or the health department. I mean, in all else fails, they could technically call the police department, but what has happened in Belmont, that has never happened. The code enforcement officer receives 1 to 2 calls a month, and that has been the same since 2007 when this policy went into effect, and it was the first one in the nation to have it. So that is what we anticipate having, because there are several of these policies throughout the state of California, and there has not been a great deal of pushback necessarily for these, because it is the equivalent of saying that someone can't paint the wall red in their apartment. It is a provision of their lease. You can't have a dog, you can't have a cat. Doesn't mean you can't like cats or you can't like dogs or have a dog somewhere else. It just means in this specific spot.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it would be up to the landlord whether, they're not going to probably evict someone because they're caught smoking in the apartment the first time, but if it was a repeated thing, maybe they wouldn't renew the lease or, but that, I think, would be up to the individual landlord.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we're going to move on. We got a late start, so we're going to have to try to crunch our agenda up a little bit, and we haven't even gotten to the regular agenda tonight, but we have a report from Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant Reed.
Good evening, members of the board, Supervisor Slocum. I'd like to start with just a couple of announcements. Is this thing on? I'm not sure that adjust this for normal-sized humans. A couple of announcements real quick. The Redwood City Police Department has invited the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office to work with them on a tattoo removal machine, and we both did some fundraising, and we're actually going to do the grand reopening of that tattoo removal machine on January 31st from 1 to 2:30 p.m. at the Redwood City PAL office. And I do not have the address of that building, but I can certainly get it. So the Sheriff's Office really appreciates the Redwood City Police Department and allowing us to work with them on that. 2 weeks ago, SAL, the Sheriff's Activity League soccer teams, and their families went down to Flood Park, did a cleanup down at Flood Park. Had over 100 volunteers down there, cleaned up the entire park, made it look great. And then Ms. Benilla from SAL is working to try to get a couple of soccer fields put in there. I talked to her today, and she says she's real early on that, but she wants to get started and see if we can get some soccer fields in down there at Flood Park as well. We talked about the March 21st is the build and dedication day for that Friendship Park. So we're all looking forward to that. The Community Policing Unit is working with Sal and Kaboom and everyone else involved in that project to get that park squared away. In fact, Sergeant Finato is able to get a friend of his that's going to come in and remove all of that old play structure equipment, get it up, tear it out of the ground for no charge at all. They're going to take it up, pick it up, and get it down to the recycling center for no charge at all. So that's really good. And then the last part of this is kind of go through the last quarter of the year. And the only thing I'm short is the statistics on all of our parking citations. Currently having a little computer issue with that machine. We're able to put data into it, and it's holding it all really well apparently, because it doesn't want to let it go. It's not giving any of it back to us. So hopefully by next month I'll be able to give you those stats. We'll have that worked out. But overall for the year, for the year of 2013, we went through with a total of 4,118 crimes. And at previous meetings, I've talked about these. And homicide, rape, robbery, assault, burglaries, both types, auto burglaries, and commercial and residential burglaries. This fourth quarter, everything was down. We were actually down to 891 reported crimes like that, from a high of 1,222 in the second quarter. So it worked out pretty well. All activities, all calls. We had 13,339 calls for service in the North Fair Oaks area. Made 157 felony arrests, 339 misdemeanor arrests. Wrote a undetermined number of parking tickets, and we towed a total of, gosh, where'd it go? 210. My Sarah math is failing me, I apologize. About 211 vehicles, traffic investigations, accidents, we had 208. With injury accidents, we had 44 in the North Fair Oaks area. And those are kind of the highlights of the year for 2013. As I said, in the fourth quarter, we were down across the board on all of the activity in the North Fair Oaks area.
I do too. I have a question about, I noted that at our last meeting, it was asked about case numbers skipping and some things, timely reports, and you had said you were going to follow up on that, as well as getting written reports on illegal dumping. Now, you know that you said you're working on the data, so.
The illegal dumping complaints, I don't have that data. And I asked the question about the case numbers, why they skipped around, and it was I believe it was the severity of the crime. It was the ones that were listed, I believe they were listed on the website. Is that, I can't remember the question. Is that the cases that were, yeah. Okay, so it was the severity of the crime. If we had an informational report or something like that didn't rise to the level that we felt we should put it onto the website, that it wasn't that we were hiding anything, it's just we're only putting the stuff that we felt was appropriate to go on the website. Otherwise, we'd load that thing down with data. So it's just a matter of taking the, for lack of a term, the most interesting cases and putting them onto the website. Does that answer that question?
I believe it does. It was your question?
That's fine.
Okay.
Very good. And I don't have that data yet. I'm still working with Public Safety Communications on trying to extract how many calls for public works we got. It's kind of a complicated process to extract that call out. So I am working on it. Hopefully in February I'll be able to give you that information.
Okay, and as far as that website, I haven't visited that website, so I'm just curious myself, is there a way to go somewhere like that website and see the total crimes that have been committed by area? I know, for example, I'm looking at my little neighborhood and trying to separate out burglaries, because we had had a rash of those in the previous year, and I was trying to see if there had been a trend by area, and I had difficulty getting those.
I don't think we have them broken down in, for lack of, for sub areas like that. I believe that we're doing that. I'll have to look at it a little more closely.
Is there a way I can get that, though, by calling the office? And, because I got a big, long report last time. but-
Right. As for how far we can break it down, I just don't know. If you want to email me, give me real specific what you want, what area you're looking for, and I'll see if we can draw that from our system.
Okay, because there was, and like, there was an explosion behind my house, and we got evacuated, and it was very exciting, but I have no idea what went on, so I'm, I want to know where I can go to find that information.
Right.
They came and said, you're evacuated, the house behind you is on fire, and there's smoke everywhere, and someone else came along and said, well, maybe it's a meth lab. It's just, you wonder
Right.
about these things, so I was just curious where to go for that.
Just quickly on the burglaries, for the fourth quarter, we actually, in the early part of the fourth quarter, one of our day shift teams, it's Sergeant Pat McTaggart, who is also a Sarah graduate from class of 1982, and his team down here kind of got on fire, and they picked up like 4 or 5 guys for residential burglary, and from a high of 37 or 43 residential burglaries in the third quarter, we went to 10 in that one quarter, and a big part of that is due to Sergeant Pat McTaggart and his team on day shifts on just solid, good police work and working these guys, interviewing them, getting a little bit of information, serving a couple of warrants, and rolling. So. To your burglary thing, I was very excited to see that stat. These burglaries bother me a great deal. I don't like them. I find them to be, when somebody comes into your house, that's a real invasion of your privacy, and I don't like those. And so I was really excited to see that stat. It was really good.
Thank you. Different kind of fire.
I'm sorry?
You said he was on fire, so a different
No,
kind.
not Pat, and
I'm
that whole
glad.
Douglas thing, that wasn't
to hear
Pat
that.
either, so don't make sure.
Okay, thank you.
Do you think the rates go up, the numbers go up fourth quarter because of the holidays?
Well, they actually went down for this.
Oh, I'm
for this.
sorry, I thought I.
Yeah, we
heard you
went
say
down from a
3 to.
yeah, down to 10.
Oh.
It was 37, I believe. Now, see, you made me take 43. I'm sorry, in the third quarter, July to September, and then 22 from October to this, or 10. Yeah. So it went down. I think it was because we got a few guys that were doing them, and so it kind of cooled down.
I too had some similar questions that Councilwoman Kaplan had. Once you finish 2013 stats, what are the patterns? What are the crimes that have been consistent throughout the 4 quarters? What are you concerned about for North Fair Oaks?
Always burglaries. Those I
The
find.
house burglaries.
Yeah, residential burglaries. I find, a lot of other crimes are not so much crimes of opportunity, but again, lack of a better term, crime of passion, your assaults, things like that. Depends on how many people get angry at each other this week and that kind of thing. But burglaries, robberies are also another concern. Robberies all through the year, we only had 15 reported actual robberies. Now, when I say a difference between a robbery and a robbery is where I take something from another person by force or fear. That's the definition of a robbery. A burglary is where I go into your house or your business or your car and I steal from that. Okay, but when I come up to you, I point a gun at you, I take a knife, a little stick, and say, "Give me your wallet." That's a robbery. Okay, and they were actually pretty low this year. All told, 15 for the year. 3, 6, and then 3 and 3. It was pretty good. Assaults, burglaries again down in the last quarter, and for auto burglaries and residential burglaries, thefts down. We see property crimes are always our biggest thing. When I say property crimes, burglaries, thefts, vandalisms are going to be the largest number of our crimes.
What about domestic violence cases?
We don't, did I break those up? I don't believe I break out domestic violence cases. I do break them out, I'm sorry. 106 for the year. Went from a high of 32 to a low of 19. The 19 was in the third quarter, actually.
How's the vandalism as far as graffitis in schools and stuff like that?
To break it out to the schools, I don't really have that. I can't say it was on a school or wasn't on a school. I don't break them out like that. my stats out like that.
But vandalism, is it considered vandalism?
Graffiti?
Yeah.
Is vandalism, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
How were those numbers this year?
You know what, I don't have it against last year.
Okay.
Maybe if you'd like, I could try to put together a little comparison report for the board, 2012 to 2013. If that would just kind of give us an idea where we're at, what stays up, what jumps up and down, that kind of thing. If that would be all right, I can try to do that for February.
Great, thank you very much.
That'd be okay?
Yes, and I think you wanted to be on the agenda for some other report as well.
Right, I'm going to try, I probably won't be in February because we're starting another community academy. At the next week, we start another community academy out on the coast. And so Deputy McKay, who runs our CARE-On project, will be out there doing that. I don't like having my guys working 3 and 4 nights a week. So Pedro's going to focus on that academy. And then as soon as he's done with that, so it'll be hopefully in March or April, I'll have Pedro come in and do a presentation on the CARE-On project here that the Sheriff's Office has in the North Fair Oaks area.
Great, sorry we couldn't accommodate.
No, that's
everybody.
fine.
See, we've
I get
got
it,
a
works
very
out.
full schedule.
It worked out well anyway.
Thank you.
Very good. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And next we have a report from Captain Mike Maskarich with the California Highway Patrol.
He's not
Or-
here.
Yes,
He's-
no?
No, he's
No,
not
I'm
here.
sorry, I didn't see you. I thought, he's not here. Do we have anyone from, no. Okay, so we're not going to do that report tonight. But we do have Ana Santiago with a code enforcement report.
Sure, you give the short girl the phone after a tall, microphone after a tall guy. I'm gonna hand these out.
I get this from my karaoke
It's double-sided, so
career.
kind of safe paper. This is my report regarding the amount of complaints. I know it's only January.
Thank you.
This report is not actually current because it's only been up to the 14th. This last week, I've been extremely busy, talking about fires. I am dealing with that 859 Douglas fire. I've also worked with environmental health on that 180 Buckingham. Thanks, Tim. To work, because I've been there with the community meeting at the Sienna Center to work with the folks there. And that has actually come a long way. There was an inspection done with environmental health this afternoon. It was a 4-hour inspection. We knocked on every door. There were a few people that weren't home, so there were letters taped to their door asking them to call for an inspection. 180 Buckingham. There has been pest control done. There's going to be a 7-day follow-up so that they are back-to-back keeping up with the pest control. We've asked for them to change the bins because they're having a problem pushing the bins up the hill, so they stay out in the street. So we've asked them to get smaller containers for smaller ones, more work for them, but at least they can move them up and down and get them off of that little streetway. And so I'll be checking back with them as far as, in about a week to make sure that they're doing what they're doing. They've also increased the garbage pickup from 2 days to 3 days a week. So hopefully smaller containers, more times to pick up, they can get a control of the garbage. As far as code enforcement, I am still working. I have been approved to hire a new officer. And so that'll be happening very soon. And so then I'll be able to have somebody actually work in the North Fair Oaks that's bilingual. And if it's not the new hire, I do have a person that speaks Spanish anyway, besides myself. So there will be a Spanish speaker out in North Fair Oaks, is my dedication for it. And that's kind of it for my report, unless you guys have any questions.
Any questions on any specific cases for Ana?
I just want to say thank you for following up with that meeting we had. I want to thank Irving. He went and jogged and went back and forth 2 blocks that whole night, getting residents out. It was a really good show, and it's a really good. It was a good way of informing the people, I think.
It was I'm going to tell you, it was so good as far as the community speaking back. This is our concerns. This is what we want. This is what we need. How do we get to this point? And, you know, we translated for the Sheriff's Department, and they had someone there that spoke Spanish as well. And it was much more of a family type of oriented meeting with their concerns and stuff, so I don't work for environmental health anymore. I did for 18 years, and I kind of have the in and outs between the two departments, so it's easier for me since I went in. Once I saw all those kids and all the conversations afterwards, I just couldn't quite let it go. So, you guys are stuck with me, so.
I like it. Good.
Yes?
Who is that from the management?
Who is the management?
Who was at that meeting from the management?
Nobody. It was all community. After that meeting, what happened is it got Code Enforcement and Environmental Health to have a really good conversation on what the next move was. We were under the understanding that they were a new owners. Not quite true. So once I did the research, I found out that they had actually owned the building since 2011. So them saying they're new owners kind of just made us go, huh? So once we found the documentation that they were still the owners back in 2011, it kind of changed the perspective. Now, environmental health and code enforcement are working hand in hand. I let environmental health take the lead because they have a 7-day turnaround for like the garbage. My ordinance is 14 days. I don't want that garbage sitting there for 14 days. So I'll let them take the lead, but if they feel that they are not getting movement, I had a conversation with them today, they're gonna bring me in with my citations, and then that's when I'll start rolling the money. I also wanted to update you on junk general. I am bringing it to the Planning Commission.
I'll see you later.
Hopefully by the end of February, but unfortunately, it's a lot of paperwork, and I am moving forward with that so that we can get them out.
Great.
Actually, I have a question regarding the fire. Did you mention that you are somehow involved with the fires?
Correct. I
Yeah.
had a complaint about the building next door for illegal wiring. So I went in there, and as I was going through the day before, that building, then that 859 caught on fire. I was next door, so it made me come right back, and what I did was I ended up doing the whole block. So that's why I'm sorry I don't have the report that I've had, but now I want to be able to say that I can sleep at night, that I went through, and there are some locations that have people living in there, just like 859. I think there were 6 people living in there. They all got out, but they're not supposed to be there. So I went through that whole block, and like 786, I got somebody out. They have a dumpster, they're cleaning. They have a 40-ton dumpster, and it's full, and they're cleaning. So I'm trying to get that whole area hopefully back up to par.
Okay. What about the one over? Where's it, Laura? Behind your house? The explosion and stuff like that.
That's a single-family dwelling.
Yeah.
And so unless I had gotten some kind of a complaint, I don't go to single-family dwellings per se.
Okay. So you're not involved with that one, or
Not that one.
Okay.
I'm involved with, because I work with the building department as well, and because I was bilingual, I decided to take the lead on for the fire.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I very much appreciate your efforts, and we all do. I get questions sometimes about how the North Fair Oaks plan is going to improve the area, and I know this isn't the North Fair Oaks plan per se, but how are we going to improve the housing and the living situations in North Fair Oaks without just tearing down every place and rebuilding and gentrifying? And I mean, this is kind of a complex question here, but I guess what I want to say is, to me, the answer is you take a look at what you have and work with this kind of a process and make it a better place to live with the existing facilities, with the existing housing and the existing tenants or residents. And there's a lot we can do to improve it, and I'm pleased to know that we are doing it.
Well, yeah, and when I go in and I find people in illegal dwellings, if I have to red tag it, they don't realize that I give them 30 minutes to move because they cannot stay there. Once a building is red tagged, you can't go in there, you can't stay. You are allowed to remove your stuff there, and it's only during daylight hours. So in those situations, if I feel like I kind of get an idea of whether they're in an illegal unit or not. And then I come prepared with numbers of shelters and legal aid or things like that that can give them a different avenue instead of having to go back into illegal dwellings. Because just for like that fire, I just don't want anything to happen to folks.
Right.
What was the actual business? What did they produce?
At 859?
Yes.
I just think it was a warehouse. I'm not
Oh.
sure what the
Okay.
inside, just, most of those places are warehouses.
Because it got me thinking after that fire that we really have to look at the multi-usage, because the North Fair Oaks plan speaks to that as far as combining residential with business, and just reminded me that we really have to be extremely selective to make sure that it's compatible, that the businesses are going to be compatible with people living above them. So in other words, you know.
I'm going to tell you.
You know what I'm
rarely-
saying? Like.
Okay, but rarely is there,
Like
that's
a
what you
printing
call a mixed
shop.
use.
What's that?
It's called a mixed use.
Right, mixed
And-
use.
And for example, I go down Middlefield, and a lot of those car shops have have somebody staying there to watch the shop. They can't. It's
Mhm.
illegal.
Right.
Those are called like caregivers. It's not allowed. And so, as a matter of fact, on Middlefield, I found a fake wall. I was going through the shop, and all of a sudden I saw a bunch of the plaster on the floor, and I'm like, what does plaster have to do in an auto shop? And then I happened to walk past, and I walked back, and I said, can you move that table right there? And he was like, no. And I was like, yes. And so then I moved it, and then he put it on sliders. It looks just like a regular wall, and you slide it over. And then up the stairs was this whole brand-new apartment, and the guys would be able to jump out of the roof and down.
Yeah.
So we had a beautiful apartment, but we had to break it down, so.
Yeah, if I can comment a little bit on that, Linda, I think, you're correct on, we have to be careful with regards to the mixed use and make sure that it's compatible.
Right.
But I think the biggest problem that we're having, and Anna can testify to that, is that first, we have a lot of tenants that really don't care, and they will pack people into places where they should not pack people into. And that's the enforcement part that we talked about on the plan, that we have to, do the enforcing of the current ordinances, codes that we have, right? That's one thing. But the other part is that a lot of these fires are happening because a lot of the infrastructure in North Fair Oaks is very old. And not only, is there illegal stuff added to it, the wiring, the fire protection is not there because a lot of this stuff was built when there were no codes. So most of the problems that I see in this area it's probably the wiring that is too old. It is breaking down, and I think and I see it, and this is something to watch out for, because I think most of the fires in homes, or for the most part, in older homes, happen around winter. And why do they happen around winter? Because that's when people use space heaters in their house. They leave those heaters on, and the wiring is very old. It's falling apart. The coating is falling apart. Something sparks, and the house goes up in fire. That's really the main problem that we have, that we need to encourage, homeowners to improve their houses, to bring everything up to code with electrical wiring, with fire-rated sheetrock, all those things that a lot of these things don't have right now. And obviously, stop the illegal additions, all that stuff.
One of my cases on your thing is an illegal, where I have somebody living in a cardboard shed.
Yeah, but I think with regards to going back to the mixed use, that if we create a mixed use throughout Middlefield. The building department will have, will have to give permits, or people will have to get permits to build those things up to code. And, with the latest fire sprinklers and everything else that is required today to make sure that something like that doesn't happen. And you can mix, people living above with businesses below. Of course, as long as you're checking that, they don't put underneath a place where they do body painting and they have people living above, right? So that's the enforcement part that we'll have to keep.
So there's two issues. So one is the homeowners, and most of the time, anytime a homeowner comes in, say they want to do a water heater, they have to get a permit, but now they have to follow and bring their house up to code. All homes, I don't know if you realize it, have to have a CO detector in it, so carbon monoxide. For me, I just tell folks to get the dual one so that they make sure that they have it. Businesses, it's a little harder with the business because they don't tend to change hands as often and they don't do construction. So that's where I often run into a roadblock because I don't get to go into those businesses like on Douglas. They've been there forever. They haven't come in. They're doing the same thing that they've been doing for years. And there's no legal recourse for me to go in unless I get a complaint or someone sees something. I was in on Bay Road because Mountain View Police called me to say they had issued a warrant and there was a family living in a trailer. I was able to get in there because I know it. So my laws are public, viewable from a public right away. And that's what my hinge is if I can't see it, I can't do anything about it.
You cannot go climbing fences, obviously, but
I've done it, but I'm not supposed to.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Anna.
I think we need to move on. We've got three reports, all by our presenter, Peggy Jensen. First one is she's going to talk to us about the entrance signs that we had talked about earlier, entrance signs to North Fair Oaks that were going to be paid for by Measure A funding. There were 4 signs to be erected on the north and south edge of North Fair Oaks along Middlefield and east and west on 5th. So, Peggy.
Yes, thank you. So you're right, I have 3 things, and I don't realize it's getting a little late, so I'll try to be efficient and quick about this. But when the board adopted the Measure A funding back in September of 2013, they included $12,000 for entry signs for North Fair Oaks. And as you mentioned, those signs are at sort of the beginning and end of Middlefield in the North Fair Oaks community and the beginning and end of 5th Avenue in North Fair Oaks. And what I'm coming to suggest today to your council is that you establish a work group that, or small work group or a small subcommittee that would develop the design parameters for these signs. They're going to be the entry signs to your community, so you all should be identifying the language that you want on the sign, whether you want them in English and Spanish, which I assume you probably would, and also whether or not you want any graphics, say, for example, your green oak tree that's the logo for the council on those signs. What I would suggest is that once that committee establishes those parameters, then I'll take those back to our county graphic designer and we'll come up with 3 or 4 options for the committee to consider and then to bring back to your council as a whole to make a decision. Once that decision is made, we have a sign shop in our Parks Department who can make those signs, and then we'll have our Public Works Department install them. So if that's a proposal that your board would like to consider, I'd be interested in hearing what direction you'd like to provide us.
Is there anyone on the council who has a particular interest in the design of these signs who would be like to go with this suggestion of creating a subcommittee? Beatrice?
Yeah, I'll work with you.
Linda?
Beatrice. Yeah.
Anyone else? So, and Dale? Okay. Oh, all right.
Jenny.
All right, so we have 4 people that...
We have Beatrice, Jenny, Dale, and Linda.
Beatrice, Jenny, Dale, and Linda, who will establish a time to meet.
If you want to provide, I'll get the names and I'll contact each of you because I have all your email addresses and we can figure out a time we'll get together.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, so would that be a public meeting?
So committee?
I believe so.
It's,
I believe since we have 4 council members, it would be a public.
our attorneys have gone home.
Well, that's what I
I'll
understood in the
check, I will
past.
check and let you know.
I think we have to at least publicly notice it. So one option is to have it run for a portion of the study session time, because I know we have other issues that need to be discussed. So that's an option, to have it run for a portion of the study session time. But you can also choose another time. It just needs to be noticed, I believe. I'll leave that up to you then to set up by email that time for that meeting, and you'll get some work on some recommendations, and then ideally maybe bring them to the entire council as well before we move on that. All right. Thank you. And I have a speaker slip. I'm not sure what Janet Davis would like to speak about. Is it this topic? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Give her the mic. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
In my humble opinion, I think this is a total waste of time and money. Middlefield Road is glutted with signs. Everybody knows where North Fair Oaks is because it's very obvious. And I just think that you don't need a study group. We've already got 4 study groups that do practically nothing and have come up with nothing so far. And I think a better option would be to have something like a durable planter by Garfield School. You could put a bench, you could put Mexican wildflowers. Mexican tile work is beautiful. You could have something that says North Fair Oaks there, and that would be so much better than one more tacky sign. And God, you don't need a work group to come up with a sign. That's just a waste of time and money. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. So we're a suggestion to incorporate the sign with some sort of possibly public art or bench or plant. Okay. Thank you for the suggestion, and I'm sure the work group will consider it. Next, we have Peggy again. Or do you have more on this, or are we done with it?
Not on this.
Okay, now we are on to the next project, or the next topic, I should say, which is a discussion on an Arts Commission project.
Okay.
Peggy with the County Manager's Office.
Right. So what I'd like to do is set some context for the art project. And to do that, I would like to share with you, and unfortunately I don't have the PowerPoint presentation, but I do have copies of it. I want to pass it down, and I have copies for everyone in the audience if you'd like to share. This is the North Fair Oaks Forward presentation that Supervisor Slocum, when he mentioned the meeting that we had on the 17th of January with the community groups, this is a presentation that was given to them to give them an overview of the whole concept of North Fair Oaks Forward, the types of projects that we're going to be working on, and the timeline for the community outreach that we're going to be doing. So I'd like to ask Pat Brown to come up and walk you through this presentation so you have a sense of what we're doing, and then we'll talk a little bit about how public art fits into that.
Thank you. Good evening. I will be very brief. I want to thank several of the council members who attended our breakfast last week on the 17th. And so you had the full benefit of this presentation, and I just wanted to highlight a little bit about what North Fair Oaks Forward is and what we're planning to continue to do during this 2014 year. So North Fair Oaks Forward is really the name that is the umbrella name for all of the work that is going on in North Fair Oaks related to the North Fair Oaks Community Plan and other related projects that are being carried forward in the spirit of the plan. And there is a graphic that is my poor attempt at trying to explain this. It's on the PowerPoint. And I'll just call your attention to it. On the first page here. North Fair Oaks Forward is, when you see that sign, it's like a brand. And the brand is, North Fair Oaks is having a renovation, having a renaissance, and this particular project where this brand accompanies it is part of this effort that is going to be taking place. Those of you that worked on the North Fair Oaks plan know it's a long-term plan, but we're talking about this upcoming year and the things that are going to be going on this year. And North Fair Oaks Forward is really dedicated to, and what I'm helping with, working with Peggy and Lilia Ledesma, is really the community engagement and communication about what's happening in this community. And our full intent is that we are providing as much information about the things that are going to be taking place this year with the investment of the county's funds, Measure A funds, and other projects that are going on, and identifying opportunities for members of the community to influence, provide input, and help design the things that are going to be happening in the community so that they truly represent the needs and desires of North Fair Oaks. That's the basic information in this PowerPoint. The one page that I just would like to go over with you quickly is page 4. And page 4 emphasizes again that what North Fair Oaks Forward is trying to do is generate energy and enthusiasm and participation as these new activities and projects are taking place. And you are receiving lots of reports and lots of information tonight and the last meeting that I attended about all of the good things that are happening. And we're wanting to partner with you and your constituencies and other community partners in helping make sure that all members of the community are familiar with what's happening. So the process that we've laid out for this coming year, for 2014, is a series of 4 community update sessions, the first of which this year is going to be taking place next week on January 28th. Those 4 sessions will be focusing on 4 different topics that are related to implementation of the plan. The meeting on the 28th will relate to the Parks work group from the community plan and the efforts that are underway to envision parks and open space recreational areas in North Fair Oaks, much needed, as you know, and how we are going to get from where we are to where we might like to be in the future. So community input in that area is really important. That's next Tuesday evening in this room. We'll be meeting. The next 3 quarterly meetings are going to take place in April, July, and September. 2 of those meetings will be related to the changes on Middlefield Road. The first is going to be the design for the changes on the Middlefield Road. That community update will take place in April. And then in October, there will be a session that will be built on the information that was taken in April and come back with the plan. And good.
I'm just passing these.
Thank you so much, Linda. Linda's on our helping us with the outreach, as is Laura and Raphael, and so we have lots of you who are partners with us already.
Oh, absolutely.
The last thing I wanted to mention is that we have quarterly newsletters that are going out. I hope that you are receiving those. If you're not, please let me know. We'll make sure that you are on the email list. We also are distributing them in hard copy through a number of different points in the community. The quarterly updates are also, just the last thing, is that the quarterly updates are going to be accompanied by a variety of different small group opportunities for people in the community who are less likely to attend a public meeting, a large meeting, but might like to know about what's going on and would like to have an opportunity to give their input to it. And so this meeting that we had with our partners on the 17th was specifically to ask for their help in in reaching these target audiences in the community, going to meetings and sessions that may already be planned, giving brief presentations, informational presentations, and then asking for input and feedback. And that those might take place with youth, they might take place with seniors, at different groups in the community. We will certainly be targeting the business group as one of those target groups. So I hope you'll look through this PowerPoint. The efforts are sincere, but they can't be successful unless we have lots of help from people who really live in and know this community. So I thank you for your attention. The last thing I'd say is that we're hoping to come back on a regular basis to both give you a preview of what will take place at the community meeting and then a post view of that community meeting so you can see the next steps that are going to take place following each meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. So then the question is, how does the North Forks Community Plan relate to public art? So we went back and looked at the community plan, and there are two very specific areas that reference including public art in the implementation of the plan. One is to create distinct gateways or key locations in North Forks that reflect the area's unique identity. And then under streetscape design, which would affect how the community rebuilds or redesigns Middlefield Avenue, there are recommendations to incorporate artwork in the design of sidewalks and community open space. It says artwork should relate to the history and culture of North Fair Oaks and celebrate the local community. The recommendation is to use local youth, students, and local artists in the creation of such art wherever it is possible. And it also goes on to suggest installing sculptural elements at key neighborhood intersections and gateways. So given the fact that the plan includes artwork, Judah Tomasoff, who works as a member of Supervisor Carol Groom's staff, and I are staff to our County Arts Commission. And the Arts Commission meets once a month and includes representatives from each district appointed by a supervisor. And Judah and I shared this opportunity that the North Fair Oaks community was redesigning Middlefield Road, and that there was in the community, in the plan that had been adopted by the community, an interest in adding art. And the Arts Commission became very excited about this opportunity. In fact, two of their members are here tonight to speak in support of this proposal. Robin Rodricks, who is the chair of the commission, and Cheryl Swan are here. At their meeting on the 8th of January, they voted to approve creation of a subcommittee of their commission to come talk to you about the possibility of working together on art for Middlefield Road. The suggestion that we have for you to consider is to create a joint work group, including the folks from the Arts Commission, some folks from your staff, and potentially a couple people from the community who are very interested in art, who would then identify kind of the scope of what you would like to do. Is this something, would you like to have murals? Would you like to have artwork incorporated in the street, maybe in the benches? Or would you like to have sculptures at the entranceway to North Fair Oaks? Or what? There's a variety of things you could do. What this group would be doing would be working in parallel with the groups that's going out to talk to the community about things, and when we come together in April, they would have some recommendations for the community to consider. And then over the next 6 months, as we're designing the streetscape, they would work on figuring out how that process would be implemented. Now, the other piece in this is that artwork requires funding. This isn't something we've included in the funding that we've asked the board to approve, and the board has approved for the redesign of Middlefield Road. The Arts Commission was working on a funding proposal for Measure A. One of their priorities is public artwork. They've done a lot of work about giving grants to educators, giving grants to arts organizations, but they hadn't really found a great public art project yet. And that's why they were so excited about this. And they would like to work with you to put together a Measure A proposal that would go back to the board in June to support the artwork on the Middlefield Road redesign. So for your consideration tonight is whether or not you would like to join together with the Arts Commission to create a public art subcommittee that would work on the Middlefield Road redesign project.
I have something to say on this matter. So I emailed Peggy earlier this morning. I was really excited when I got this memo. Anna Angel, she works for New Voices for Youth. She's here today. She runs our digital storytelling art pieces for Siena Youth Center from the League of Women Voters. And she's somebody definitely to consider for a project like this, as well as myself. I'm really passionate about the arts in the community. I just look at Hayward as a prime example, Hayward, California. They've just done major work in their city with art, and it's amazing. My former city. So I also think that we should look at NFO Initiative. They give mini grants out every year for projects like these in the community to do art. So it's definitely something to consider, as well as the Music, Mural, and Arts Project that's ran in Palo Alto. So those are things that we should consider, as well as me being a part of this group, along with Miss Anna.
Are there others on the council who are interested in being part of an arts work group, an arts initiative, and helping to move this forward? I am. I'm interested. I have background in art and have interest in that, so I would be happy to work with you on that. And is there anyone else, or are there any other questions?
I have, hello? Oh, I have someone in mind who has extensive knowledge about art. She's part of the community, and I'll be recommending her to you so you can communicate. I am interested, but I need to, I think I'm over extended, so I need to look at my calendar at this point.
Does anyone else have questions or contributions on this topic?
Just one very quick comment and a question. I certainly endorse this activity. I think public art can really be a plus. And thinking about it, I'm inclined to agree with Ms. Davis that I believe something like this can often be much more distinctive and effective than simply a sign. I have no artistic ability, so I'll do you all the favor of not volunteering. However, one very quick question about the Arts Commission. Is that either exclusively or primarily a visual arts activity, or is there a performing arts element to the Arts Commission?
I'd like to invite our Arts Commissioner to the podium or to the microphone so they can answer that question for you.
It covers all arts, visual arts, fine arts, cultural arts, as well as literary arts. And I have to get a plug in. There's still time for, if you know of any 501c3 nonprofit arts organizations, there's still plenty of time to get a grant in for this year's, our second round. Last year we did our first round of grants, and there's still time to get a grant application in for this year's round of grants that will go out in late-ish May. And we would love to work with you on the outdoor art, public art, which is, we adopted a strategic plan about a little over a year and a half or so ago. And one of the 5 goals or steps in that strategic plan is public art. And so this is a great opportunity because there's not a lot it's, you know, most county space is city, municipal, and you're an unincorporated county, so you're a perfect target for public art. And absolutely, Alameda County, in particular Hayward, has done a great job overall with public art. Can I answer any other questions? Or?
Well, were you going to give us a little presentation, or was that pretty much it? It was more so. That's good. Was that? So what's the next step?
Yeah, if you could just, Laura, you could email me the names of the folks both on your council and other people who you would like to have join the committee with their email addresses, then I'll get in touch with them. We'll have a meeting of that group and decide how we're going to develop our work plan and go forward.
All right, so if anyone knows of, as you already offered someone here, but if we know of anyone, if anyone on the council knows of anyone else who is involved in the community in the arts that might be a candidate, please let us know.
It would be great if you could get the information to me within about a week, because we'd like to get this up and going and make it run concurrently with all the work we're doing on Middlefield Road.
Excellent. Thank you.
Oh, I do have one question. You said there's still time to submit a grant, and it has to go through a 501c3. So, and what's the actual deadline to submit? Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you were going to say like into January. Okay. Oh, so there's plenty of time. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, great, thank you, thank you.
If it would be of interest to the council, between Judah and Robin and I, we will get you the information about that grant program.
That would be good, thank you. So, and now we will have,
I'm sorry. I just want to thank you for making that connection. It's a very logical connection. I think it's excellent. And I want to thank you, Peggy, for that.
If I can add to that, I think that's probably one of the things, art on our streets, North Fair Oaks, I would see, especially Middlefield. I think it's something that is really needed to clean up what I think Mrs. Davis would say, it's utter nonsense what we have there, the clutter of signs and all that stuff, to start to have a vision of cleaning up all that stuff and bringing real art to clean up the street. In many areas in North Fair Oaks, I think it's something that I would definitely support. And maybe Mrs. Davis also.
why don't you, you or she email that to us with.
Ask her maybe
Yeah,
if
ask
she
her,
wants to.
because I know she just left, right?
Yeah.
So
I think-
ask her if she's interested in it, to let her know to email us, thank you.
I think just a quick highlight, like Manuel said, since they've done those murals in Hayward, graffiti has dropped dramatically. It just pumps me up. It pumps me up because it's like you need to go on 92 highway and just take a ride there because you almost crash by the beauty of it. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful, and I could see it happening here, and people coming to our community because of our art. So, yeah.
And so I think that the idea of letting the community know, because I bet we have a lot of artists on our community.
Yeah, we do.
And so I think it's important to really let the community know that this is going to happen and try to get them out because, I'm pretty sure we can find quite a few artists on this community that would like to add to that. Yeah. Well, not only that, but I love the murals in Palo Alto of this odd pictures of people, like somebody climbing up the wall, or those are, I thought, they're really nice. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Well, we have 10 minutes left, and we've got 2 more items on our agenda. So I think these are all great ideas, and I appreciate, again, you bringing that to our attention and giving us the opportunity for creativity to come out through the council. Great. But we're going to have Peggy, our popular speaker for the evening, now address yet another item, which is a brief update on the Bay Area catering and events
So late last year, the Board of Supervisors changed the zoning on the base property from commercial to residential. The next step was for the Planning Commission to consider the period of time that the business would be allowed to stay on the parcel as a non-conforming use. The Planning Commission made a recommendation of departure date of I think it was June of 2015. That recommendation comes to the Board of Supervisors. It'll probably come to them for consideration sometime in February. What I want to add is the Planning Commission recommendation was made without much information, financial information from the business owner. And under the rules and regulations and the state laws, one of the things that needs to be considered in terms of how long a business can stay when zoning is changed is what's called amortization. How long is it going to take that business to recoup the investment that they've made in their property? I'm working with County Council and Planning and Building staff to evaluate data that we've been provided by the business owner, and we will be making a recommendation to the board, as I mentioned, sometime probably in February.
All right, thank you very much. That's a helpful update. And there was one other aspect which I know that, excuse me, there had been several measures put into place that were being followed up. And do you have just a brief update on any follow-up or complaints, kind of what's the status in general? I know at one point we were getting lots of complaints.
We've met with the base business owners, and that timeline is not set at this point. They are working with a contractor, they're working with the city of Redwood City, but I don't have a specific timeline.
Oh, no, that's for the move. I'm talking about just in terms of following up, them being in compliance.
Well, at this point, we have not had any complaints in the last month or so.
Okay, well, that's good. Good news.
Right.
All right, thank you very much for that update on
Thank you.
that. We have one more item on our agenda, and that is the nomination of officers for the council for 2014. This is the time that we would take nominations. All council members, as I understand it, even new ones,
Even the old ones?
even the old ones, except not you, Manuel, are eligible for nomination, and we would be voting at our meeting in February for the change in officers. So has anyone thought about nominations? And I think it's really always been okay to nominate yourself if you're interested. The officers for which we are accepting nominations: chair, vice chair, and do we also do secretary? I don't know if we've done that in the past. I know that we had talked about having
Chair and
to
vice chair,
have
I
that
think
in our
all.
new bylaws, that we needed a secretary, that we did not have that before. So I'm not sure if that's one that we
So
have
we
to
c-
nominate for. Maybe we can.
So we can start our nominations?
Yes, let's now open the floor to
Okay.
nominations.
We're just doing the slate, and then we're going to vote on the slate in February,
That's
right?
correct. So we will be putting forth nominations, so feel free to nominate any of your council member colleagues or yourself for any of these positions. And we will make a list, and we will do the actual voting at our
Okay.
next meeting in February.
So I can start on this side, since I'm the last one, on the end here. I'm going to nominate for chair Mrs. Linda Lopez. I think she has a lot of experience, in this kind of affairs. I mean, she's been a community leader for a very long time, and she's, I know she's been in a lot of different groups. So I know she has a lot of experience and understanding of what it takes. So she's my nomination as chair, and as vice chair, I think someone who's energetic and would be good help would be Mr. Rafael. I would nominate you as vice chair.
I'm energetic. Thank you.
Those are my two nominations. Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any other nominations? We usually nominate people who aren't here, so. Almost everyone's for it.
I guess the next step is to, the people who were nominated, do we accept the nomination?
Well, we will get to that. We'll get to that. I was going to try to see if we had any other nominations first. But you're right, that would be a good point. We will see if the people who've been nominated are willing to accept that nomination. Any other suggestions for chair? Or anyone who's willing to be considered?
Yeah. I mean, I think you can, affirm or bring somebody new that you may think would be a good fit. So the rest of the council, I think.
Any nominations for the position of secretary, the role of secretary?
So we are doing secretary?
I think we are supposed to do secretary. Let's put it on there, and if it's not an official vote, we still need one, I believe. And you can always kick that person up to vice chair. Now, I know this is a process that we've had a little, so again, volunteers welcome. Now, we have at least one person who might be terming out, is that correct? We don't know that, okay. So, are the new members at all interested?
I'm interested in learning more about the chair position.
Oh, that's really a good point.
Yeah, so like, if I get nominated for it and I like it, I would like to look further into that position.
Right,
Of
so
course.
for example, the vice chair would basically take on the duties of the chair when the chair is not there. And that's, I think, pretty much what the vice chair does, isn't that correct? And the chair, which is the role I'm filling at this moment, takes a look at items that might need to be on the agenda for both the monthly study session and the monthly regular meeting, confirms those with usually the representative from the supervisor's office we work with has been Irving. And he will gather items that come through their office that may need to be on our agenda. Then we will put together the agenda and decide if anything else needs to go on it and if any speakers need to be invited. And then we have the meeting and and you've been to the meeting, so you've seen what happens.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it.
All right.
Right?
Right, yeah. I mean, I was chair for 2 years, and I know a number of the people here have been chair for, more than 1 year. So, I would reaffirm what I said. I think it's important that the person who's the chair, I think has a good experience, a lot of experience actually in like running meetings for the public, really, and that there are other considerations of time, obviously, because you will be called probably. You are the representative of the council, and so there'll be meetings and things like that, and then you need to report back to the council. But I think somebody as the chair, I think, should be someone that obviously is also interested in and starts to learn about what the chair is also. It supports the chair and be ready to do the duties of the chair in case that the chair is not able to do those duties. So, right.
And we also need to be familiar with the rules and the bylaws, which you've been familiarized with as part of coming on the council.
I actually nominate Beatrice for secretary.
Yes.
All right.
I'll second that.
All right.
I don't mean to butt in, but just out of curiosity, why do you want to vote on this in February? Why not do it like the Board of Supervisors done? You make a motion the people are nominated and we vote.
That is a very good point. But the reason is because that's what it says on our agenda. And I believe that that's, the reason it was put that way on our agenda was that that was what it says in our bylaws.
Or is that what it says?
I'm not,
Yeah.
but that's what
But-
it has here. So I thought we should follow that.
Yeah, but I think, and I think that's the way they would.
Oh, it doesn't say
They
that.
did it we did it when I became chair. But just pretty much, you're ready for the next meeting, and pretty much you have everything set up. All right, so.
And I mean, going forward, we may want to change that, where we put the slate, do the slate in December so that the newly elected officers can start January 1st. But, yeah, for now, we have to follow this
Yeah,
one.
we would have to change the bylaws, but I'm sure that could be done later in the year, I'm sure, right? Yeah.
And as far as those nominations that we have on the floor, I want to just say I second the two that you made. Forgot to,
Right.
speaking of rules. Is there, we've always been a little casual,
Okay, so
but we do
Yeah.
try to.
motioned, you seconded, I motioned for Beatrice, and you seconded.
I second that, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'll second all
He's
the
gonna do it
nominations.
Oh.
Okay. All right, so we don't have to take a vote right now, so we'll be done at the next meeting.
So any other nominations? We just have our slate, and that's it, huh? Well, it would be easier to do it, wouldn't it? But you never know, we might have had lots of nominees. So far, I don't hear any more. So hearing none, I will say let's go with our, we have to ask them if they're willing to do it. Yes. Linda?
Yeah, thank you, Manuel, for the endorsement. Thank you very much. Absolutely, I'm willing to take that on.
Excellent. Beatrice?
Yes.
Excellent. Rafael?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, so we will have our,
We'll just make it official
Next week.
we will have our vote next meeting, and do I have a motion for adjournment, since it seems we've concluded our business for this evening?
I motion
I-
to adjourn.
Second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right. So the meeting is concluded at 4 minutes after 9.